against HomeBois, where it's kind of going away from their usual style. But either ways, we're jumping into the very first game of Group B in day number 2 of wildcards.
Based on my experience, though, LaFell, it does seem like, for Bebex onto the Ruby, I would say, on paper, it would make sense that it's going to be a non-lane, right? For the Claude, just utilize the range, go for the farm, use the Battle Mirror image whenever Bebex walks up. But the Ruby is very, it's so deceiving. Think she's a melee hero that can't really poke you down, but the range of that passive is quite massive, and you will be able to bully your opponent usually. So as long as IHC are able to funnel some resources into the bottom lane, not really, gold or XP, but mainly with some pressure relieved off of that lane, would be really good. But Ethan, starting the top, forced to flicker early on, not even the first minute, and now he will pop that power of nature to escape.
I would say that's big. It's a good thing that he uses Flicker there because it's still under 2 minutes, so extra damage in the jungle. Forbid taking quite a lot of damage, and Zorn is in the middle of things.
Just terrifying onto 2 members. Zorn still able to flicker out. Chibi looking for the kill now, maybe even looking for an invade as Forbid rotates back in towards the jungle to relieve some of the pressure away from Ling. But in the bottom lane, Nets is doing a very good job at just suppressing this force of the Ruby in the gold lane.
One small thing that's a little bit unfortunate, I think Chibi was absorbing one minion coming in from the mid, so perhaps Udil is going to take a little bit more time before he gets his level 4. But again, it's a small thing, probably wouldn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Zorn finds Xora. Xora is already level 4. Zorn is already taking quite a bit of damage.
He doesn't have the flicker. That is a very important thing to note down. As the turtle will spawn in 13 seconds, but he's giving the Warcry, by the way, for the Roger. And for Xora, it's the QC, not the Warcry we're used to. Zorn walking up, getting knocked up. Ethan doesn't have the flicker now. That's even Xora jumping in, but Chibi does a whole lot of damage. Already took the purple buff earlier. Xora will be able to walk back into the purple buff. Both teams not setting up for the turtle.
I feel like Chibi has the right idea here. You got to make sure that IHC Esports is always below 50% health, though, but Zorn taking a lot of damage. Looks like he's going to get taken down. No, he still survives.
And the Eternal Guard actually turns it around. That's the penalty zone, but it will not be able to save Forbid in the mid lane. First blood over to HomeBois.
I was going to say, HomeBois, their idea is to make sure that everyone coming in from IHC Esports have very low HP before contesting anything to make the threat of Chibi actually going in with the light compounds being very, very high. Xora, he still wants it. Supply gets it.
Mid-air, he catches him with 100, and Xora is going to be bursted down by Udil. Now the turtle taking Chibi, walking up into the enemy jungle, invading already, trying to take as much as he can to punish Xora.
Looks like with this draft, HomeBois is able to pick up the tempo. IHC Esports, having a jungler, a Ling as the jungle, you want to make sure that you're able to farm up as safely as you can. Looks like he's having a little bit of trouble, but even so, in terms of the gold, it's only 500 gold difference, and it does look like Xora is going for a Berserker Fury first item, so he's not going to be that far behind.
Walk up again, Forbid going to be knocked up. Ethan used the power of nature earlier. Bebex has rotated, but in the early game, I can't help but say, for Bebex at least, he's kind of failed to utilize that pressure. Udil on a barrier, not able to really go for anything. Bebex with I'm offended on the 2 members right in the middle. Fury the wall charge with the Feather Airstrike gets comboed together. Xora would have the Blaze jumping into this fight, but Suppot will also rotate much quicker. And now getting Bebex caught all alone, running away. That's cutting him down slowly but surely with one last Battle Mirror image to the front to take him down.
I don't know whether that is worth it or not for IHC Esports. That was a good engage. Make sure you're doing something and not nothing. But the fact that you gave Nats an assist as well as a kill makes it so that he gets his Trinity item faster. And this is why I was questioning the Ruby going up against the Claude. Even though, yes, like you said, having more range is going to be good, but Nats on his Claude, he's very careful. When he's using this scaling kind of marksman, he doesn't trade all that much, and it looks like it translates into this game. Replayception!
Replayception. This is the replay earlier in that skirmish. It was such a good layer of CC from IHC, but HomeBois just played it well. They knew only 2 of their members were caught there. Looks like Suppot's going to be taking some damage, but he does still have the Primal Wrath, and IHC will not decide to commit under that tier 1.
And again, one thing that you got to take note was that during that replay, we saw Nats actually controlling his range very, very well. He's making sure that his positioning is good. As I say that, he's standing face-to-face against Bebex.
Maybe,
talk about timing.
Yeah, maybe you don't try to predict things.
Yeah,
but you taught me this at M3, man.
True. Maybe I should stop talking.
Good barrier. You want to try to slow the pace of the game down because HomeBois at this point with Hey, actually, if we take a look at the gold lead, it's not that big. Terrified with the Eternal Guard. Udil being able to chunk Ethan, but he has Power of Nature, walks up now as Xora does some damage. Sapot not going for the onward just yet. Pops the Primal Round, Assassin moving a wall charge into the back line. That's a steal from Xora. As Sapot deals with the Charisma, Ethan in the back, and to be ran down by Chibi. As Xora gets terrified mid-air again, knocked up and taken down by the hammer of Zord. Now walking up with a 2-man knockup. Teams 4, IHC. They'll still be able to get a trade off of that, but it's 3 for 1.
Yeah, but again, we talked about this, how both teams, they really like to brawl. Even if for the first part, you see like, oh, this might not be a good trade, but still, the team will go for it because in terms of mechanics, they're amazing. Bebex was able to steal that one. Chibi getting a turret up top. Now we're starting to see a little bit of difference coming in from the gold. Now it's 1,000 gold lead for HomeBois, but considering it's 7-3, it's not that big of a gold lead when you compare it to the amount of kills as well as the amount of gold generated. HomeBois, they need to make sure that they start to take more turrets so that they can start, well, I would say choking Xora out of farm, then you can really get your win condition. Because as of right now, looking at the EXP earned, the Ling is still earning quite a lot of EXP. He's not being stopped all that well.
Look at this. Just as you say that, right? Zord tries to stop it alone as the Minotaur because nobody was seen on the map. Now Onward actually going to go in. Eternal Guard as well. Before he's able to escape, but gets caught in Earth Shatter. As now Supply gets caught in the Udil. Dies in the back somehow. A blazing away from Nets. Now it's going to be Minus Fury to knock them up. Aizen with a desperate penalty zone. And Ethan will be able to walk away. They'll sacrifice Aizen and Forbid. And it will only give HomeBois a bigger lead here in the 6th minute of the game. Nets Battle Mirror Image to the front, trying to go for a bit more damage to pressure Ethan. But as you said, right now it's not that big of a lead despite the kills.
Yeah, it's really not. The good thing about HomeBois is that they're giving the kills over to the damage dealers. Chibi, Udil, Nance has been joining quite a lot of fights. Chibi is actually getting a lot of gold because he's getting the turrets as well.
Man. 1 level lead for the Roger already. Sapot goes to the armor. Now Earth Shatter. Knocking Xora up. Goes for the Primal Wrath defensively here to escape from some of the damage. And Forbid has already used up the Feathered Airstrike.
Yeah, but the thing is, right now for IHC, they stole the previous one. Looks like it's not going to be stolen this time. IHC, I feel like they understand they got to slow down a bit. They got to get Xora onto 2 items. And HomeBois, I feel like they got to pick up the pace a little bit because if you give room for the Ling to farm up, it might be one of those things that you regret in the long run.
This time, though, they've been able to pick up a turret on a neutral objective. Ethan, he's taking that much damage as a frontliner. Just up against Udil, by the way. This is a Vixana, and he's doing so much burst damage early on. Xora is still, trying to look for that farm, but he is 1 level down. In the late game, even if they do get to the later stage, right? Let's say 10-minute, perhaps a 1v1 here, but Roger versus Ling. Who actually scales better in this kind of matchup?
I feel like whoever has the Sky Piercer has an unfair advantage. Chibi now having the Endless Battle so that he has a little bit more sustain. It looks like he already used a Retribution onto Ethan.
See that damage coming down with the Legend pouncing Xora! Almost gets one-shot Zord! Tries to break the dash, but he doesn't even need to! Chibi just guns him down! What was that damage?
I mean, okay, we asked the question, and the player's like, got you, fam, bet! I'm going to show you how much on-hit damage I deal. And again, I have no idea whether Chibi has the Sky Piercer or not, but 1 hit, and that was like, what, 40% of the HP? I believe that damage was coming from the Endless Battle, and it looks like he does have the Sky Piercer. And interestingly enough, he has the War Axe as well. So that War Axe is the first item. Interesting build here coming in from Chibi.
Wow, I'm still kind of stunned by that damage.
Was that maximum stacks on the War Axe and the Endless Battle proc? I don't think that's maximum stacks on War Axe.
No, I really don't, right? Because it was a fight that Xora kind of forced with Ethan as well. So I don't think he had a lot of time to stack up the War Axe. Still, incredible damage now as Xora goes to his own purple buff. And even here, it's a bit scary for him. Walking to the purple buff as Zord just screens him, gets that information, and the team plays accordingly. Now they're just back up in their own jungle. They know that they need the Lord. They don't need to go for any crazy, unnecessary skirmishes at this point. But Nets is kind of unkillable, right? I mean, at this point, even if you dash towards it, this is why the quad is so good against assassins. You blink out, you don't dash out.
And Nets already completed, I believe, his Trinity item because he just completed his Corrosion Scythe. Chibi is 4 kills. His 4 kills away from getting the maximum amount of stacks. I believe he's 2 stacks away from getting 10%. 10% lethality, and that 10% is going to be a big game changer. HomeBois, they're going to be able to get this Lord uncontested. IHC Esports doesn't have a way to enter the Lord pit, but in the meantime, Zexora understands he needs the farm, so he goes to the side lanes.
Yeah, and he tries to go for a turret there. He does get a trade, but a Lord in the 10th minute of the game, for this kind of composition, usually you would say, for the first Lord, it's not really deadly, but if you take a look at IHC, they're lacking the marksman. They don't have that marksman. They have the feather airstrike. I'm not sure if that can actually save them here.
I believe it's deadly because we got to talk about the Lord having 30% more HP now, and you got lethality on this Roger. So any kind of engage, there's a chance for a wipeout.
And your wave clear is also questionable for IHC, right? Like I mentioned, only 4-bit can really go for it, but he has to choose whether he wants to use the feather airstrike to some of these members or to the Lord. And I think both are the wrong answer at this point.
Yeah, but personally for me, I would say try to go for the members because, again, 10-minute Lord you can still handle, but the amount of damage coming in from HomeBois is a little bit too much. You got to be very, very careful. Supply not able to hit his onward.
Damage, Jordan looking forward, gets a knock on Bebex in the front of it all, trying to go for the GV, but it's going to be the frontliners completely melted down, and Sapa walks up with the flicker as well, like compounds from Chibi together with the electrifying damage. Now it's going to be a desperate Tempest ablaze. The Lord might as well just be called the Deadly Lord, because in the 11th minute, they've been able to stomp through IHC.
And just like that, HomeBois was able to win the first match of the Group B stage with a lot of damage coming in from the Roger. And looks like the Ruby goalie going up against the Claude was not able to stop this Claude. The Claude was still able to farm as fast as possible.
The Claude was